Tarak woke up from reading the papers in front of him to see that he appears to have now read the entire document, and the first page was open again, displaying all the different outer planes. He looked over the planes and rubbed his head to think on all that he had now experienced. Wow, that was something. What decision the goddess is stuck between, I wonder. I have some ideas myself. Henry, what are you thinking? Henry looked up from the documents, also seemingly exhausted. It seems that Sarenrae wants me to give my former boss a performance review. You said you were Eclipse as well, yes? Explains why we're the only two people here. Dina's finally kicked it. No, I thought I dealt with the Eclipse in my own way, during my time as an Inquisitor. An Inquisitor? Oh, wonderful. So not only do I have to relive the worst years of my life in Galt, I get to do it hounded by the very type of people I fought against in my quest to get some peace in my life. Are we really in the Boneyard? Because this feels like the Nine Hells all of a sudden. Tarak sagged a bit, sighing. Look, I'm not so fond of those years myself, trying to make up for them ever since. Make up for them? At least you didn't turn tail on your deity. Sarenrae was one of the symbols of the people of Galt that they rallied under back during the Revolution. And I'm ashamed to admit it, but when you've got quite literally an entire country trying to kill you, you end up making some rather questionable life choices. Well, she seems to be giving both of us a second chance, Henry. So take comfort in that. Giving both of us a second chance, imprisoning us, more like it. I founded my kingdom to get away from all of this stuff. You want to know why I started bleaching, Tarak? Stress. Tons of it. And this is not helping right now. And I went home to start making amends after I abandoned the church, wanting to forget it all. We had different sides in the Eternal War, but we had similar paths because of it. My faith in Sarenrae didn't waver because of the fact that I realized the church was flawed, using what knowledge we have as medics and doctors to do the atrocities to the people of the Eclipse. I may not be a gnome, but I bleach in my own way. I'm 25 and I have gray hairs. So it would seem. Still, did you not read the same document I just read? Eclipse was founded by that exact same attitude. Clerics of Sarenrae committing atrocities. Sarenrae may be a benevolent deity up here in the spirit world, but down in Galt, she's a rallying cry against anything noble or upper class, aka me and my entire family. You think I was just going to sit idly by and let wayward Sarenrae worshippers burn down my entire estate? Fuck no. I lost faith in my deity, Tarak. That's why I joined. Not out of malice, out of a sense of justice. I did, and I hate that I was so blinded that I tried to ignore them until I couldn't handle it anymore, but by the Dawnflower, I won't say either side was right because it's true. We were all in the wrong. Your own reasons are yours, and certainly they would have felt the best at the time. You can look back now and see otherwise. It's a complex question, though I suppose that explains why you and I are both here, to pass judgment on Eclipse's former leader. It would appear so. I am unsure myself as to the choices. Seeing her story from her perspective, she had morals for a time. But when she felt slighted and became undead, she spent centuries committing to such actions that gods know if redemption could be possible truly. But she seemed to begin having remorse and regrets near her end before her passing. I want to believe she could have had some redemption had she not died. That is what Fesmara must deal with for all the time running the Boneyard. I don't envy her. Well, that's the eternal question of Sarenrae, isn't it, Tarak? How much evil is too evil? If I were to pick a plane, Ysgard, Limbo, or Pandemonium seems like the best options for her. Chaotic for certain, wanting to tear down the which she saw as corrupt. Ysgard's a land of heroes, of endless Valhalla. Limbo's pure chaos, and Pandemonium, isn't that the one with the evil winds? Honestly, I'd vote the opposite. When I knew her, Dina was very by the book. She wanted to get shit done. She wanted to do it efficiently. She didn't promise power like other evil cults. She promised reform. She said that once we wiped out all the non-believers, aka you, that we'd reform the clergy of Sarenrae into a tool more fit for purpose. I had no idea she was trying to kill a god, or that she was a vampire. Uh, I see. I'm not entirely certain of the contents of the planes myself, and Tarak didn't know what planes were, so I had to explain what the basic idea of the planes were, and thought a bit to himself. Maybe Acheron, the Beastlands, maybe Arcadia, the Boneyard itself. They seem most fitting, with Acheron and the Boneyard being the best options, possibly. That's my own takeaway from this. Here, you'd send the undead vampire to the realm of the goddess who hates the undead just as much as Sarenrae does. Acheron, though, that sounds very much like how she was in life. Always balancing morals with what needs to be done. Then doing anything she could do to purge corruption from the church, even if it meant going to extreme actions as trying to kill a god. It was just an idea, though. And Acheron is basically the front lines of the blood war. It's not really much of a peaceful afterlife, though does she deserve one? I am not Fesmara. Who am I to judge a soul? Well, her life was a constant battle, and from what I saw, she never gave up fighting for whatever cause she believed in. Even when dying, her fight was to keep her master alive. So, would she be willing to devote her afterlife to another war? I almost wish I could speak to her and see how she feels about this. We are fairly far into this trial, though. As the words left his lips, Tarak felt the angel enter his mind. Do you wish to speak to the accused? Tarak jolted at that. Well, this is highly unsettling, I won't lie. If I may, I just wish to ask her opinion for an afterlife, helping them fight back evil. A flash of magic appeared in the center of the two of their study. So suddenly, it's caused Henry to draw his mace again. Though what materialized in the center of that magic that caused the gnome to drop his mace to the ground. In the center of the room, they saw a child. A child who looked to be no more than 10 to 12 years old. She was dressed in prison rags and had fangs, but fangs that seemed filed down, like nails more than teeth. She appeared to be laying on the ground, though the light faded, and she slowly sat up. What? Came the voice of the child. Soulless? Tarak put a hand to his chest and took a deep breath, approaching. Miss Dina, correct? The small child blinked and turned to look at Tarak. Dina? Who are you? Sorry, forgot that. My name's Tarak. A former cleric of Sarenrae. I'm still of the faith, but, well, I'm dead. And I was, asked to help the goddess with your cause. Sarenrae? Dead? What? Came the response. Look, if this is about Trixie, I'm sorry, okay? I've been through more pain to last a lifetime. Several, to be honest. I don't know what I've done against you specifically, but I'm sorry, alright? I don't know what else I can say beyond that. Nothing else I can do, and there's nothing else I can do inside this cell, besides pray for forgiveness from a deity I tried to murder. Henry walked over to Dina and spoke. Dina, it's me, Lord Henry. You remember me? Dina looked towards Henry in surprise. Henry? You came all this way for... am I kidding? I'm not enough good. I've ruined the lives of so many. Tarak put an eye on her shoulder softly. No eternal suffering. I saw you wanted to repent and see it even now. I have things narrowed down, but, what do you think of Arcadia? Our carry-on was another option, but if you're tired of fighting, I, I don't know what are you talking? She appeared to just be going into shock at everything that was happening around her. Henry spoke up. Slow down, or command. Not everyone's just okay with being told that they're dead. It's a big deal, even to those of us who've been running from it for a few centuries. Right, I'm sorry. I'm not a people person. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit too straightforward with her. Henry approached Dina and talked to her softly. Tarak was not able to hear what he said, but after a moment, the child stopped crying. Tarak clasped his hands together, sheepish and waiting. He waited and watched. He saw Henry look at Dina, and for Dina to simply look at her feet. She sat down on the divinely carpeted floor. Henry did the same, and the two of them just looked at each other, not speaking. After another moment, she mumbled something to herself and began quietly sobbing. Henry simply watched her sob before he reached into his armor and pulled out a small box of tobacco and rolling paper. With more dexterity than you'd expect from a gnome, he placed the tobacco in the paper and, with a single hand, rolled up a pair of cigarettes. He placed one in his mouth, and he cast a spark spell to light it. He handed the second to Dina, and when she accepted, he turned his finger into a flame and lit the homemade cigar. The two of them smoked together in silence, each occasionally mumbling to one another. Time passed, though it's hard to tell how long. Perhaps a moment, perhaps for a few days. There was no real metric for time spent in this room. Indeed, both of the cigarettes made by Henry seemed to burn forever. Eventually, though, Dina did stand back up, and the two of them shared a hug. He looked towards Dina and gave a smile and walked back towards Tarak. He then outstretched a hand towards Dina and invoked some magic, causing a small, semi-transparent bubble to engulf both Henry and Tarak, as Dina turned away from the two of them and simply smoked silently. Silent spell, he spoke to Tarak. It lets us speak freely without offending the girl. She's been through a lot, enough to damn herself to the abyss for what she's done, and she rightly hates herself for it. But it goes back to that age-old question, doesn't it, Tarak? Is there no threshold from which good cannot return? Or shall we go around trying to convert actual, literal demons? The gnome smoked silently next to the orc. Tarak was silent, thinking, and for after what looked to be minutes, seconds, or days. I'm not certain. Truthfully, as I told you in my stories, I want to believe that everyone can be given a new chance. Even those like a succubus, such as the one I mentioned, Roxy. Oftentimes, the people who turn to darkness struggle to reclaim the light. Others struggle to maintain it. I know I have with my outbursts in battle. I am a naive youth. But I have also lived my own life threefold, and I see there are people I could have helped to change their path. And people I should not have tried to speak out with again, as it only brought pain for those particular bridges. Dina, she's committed atrocities. But the good she did truly benefit the... But as for the good she did, is she truly befitting of the abyss because of her actions were tricksy? Perhaps. But I realize I'm soft on people, so my judgment might be clouded with a rose tint and bring those things into a better life. Normally, I would pray for guidance on this, but this task is from Sarenrae, meaning even she cannot provide the answer, and to try to speak with her would be, well, suicidal, perhaps. So, what is your option of where she belongs, Henry? I want to do right for her sake and my own sanity, but I know I must be harsh as a form of mercy, for the goddess who tasks us with this. Where would you place her? My sight, or Sarenrae's? You don't need a divination spell to receive an answer from your deity, Tarak. Otherwise, we'd never be able to convince the common folk of the existence of gods. One of the things you learn as a cleric, Tarak, he chuckles a bit at the unintentional rhyme, is that you're never without your god. She may not be literally standing beside you, but the moment you decide to become a cleric, you invite Sarenrae into your heart. Same goes for me. That's what faith is, Tarak. What you're looking for isn't out there for anyone to tell you. It's your answer is within you. I've got my answer, and you've got yours. I was afraid you'd say that. I want to give her a good afterlife. Everyone deserves one, after all. I know my father and Nualia do. My father became undead while Nualia killed and butchered. But both did good work as well. Nualia was one of the people who helped guide me to Sarenrae, and my father raised me despite no extra hands at the time on the farm. Dina, she did wrong, but she was doing good. And look at her now, she feels so much remorse. I can see it in her posture and in her face. I want to give her something as good. What exactly, I'm not sure. I need to decide. Nualia? The evil cultist of Lamashtu that you mentioned stole her father's body and used her body to birth a goblin army? You wish her a happy afterlife? I hate to say it, Derek, but you are the least orcish orc that I have ever met. Does nobody deserve to burn for their sins in your worldview? Huh. Of course, she was evil when she passed, but I found her notes. She went the way she did because she was abused for being an outsider. She was used just because of her heritage. It broke her and opened her to Lamashtu. If I had been found by the wrong people after leaving the church, I might have wavered as you had, and became like her in the eclipse. But I wasn't. And I wasn't around my orcish family after I became a year old, so I am as human as anyone else. And ideally, no, people who have done good or showed potential for good should be allowed that chance, and a chance for happiness. I think the only ones unable to accept that chance are those who have only ever had evil and refuse to leave the shadows, such as Snake Woman, for instance. Well, if you believe the doctrine, everyone's soul starts out as positive energy, and yet hell still exists and houses half the souls in the world. So I've been told. My own father once tried to murder my friends because I was trying to help him, but he kept making missteps. I had to help kill him. I don't know. I can't help but want the best for people, especially if they have done things that would make them seem horrible. Think of how you felt learning why I went to the Eclipse, a tool for torture. I am a monster to some because of that. To others, might be simply because how I look. But I do good despite that. And I want others to who have felt similar to have a chance. Especially if they, like I did, see themselves the same way others do, as a monster. That's why I want to give her a good afterlife. I think Arcadia may have been a best choice for her. The Beastlands would be good, but Arcadia is lawful, and a place like that might welcome her repenting heart. Were we not on the very doorstep of Sarenrae, I'd have called you out on your bullshit, answered Henry. But Arcadia it is. Are you sure you're not secretly a saint? Someone called me the next, what is it, Cendric? So I'm not a saint. I don't claim to be anything more than mortal and just very blessed. I'm just someone who wants the best for people. It's why I was thinking of converting an old manor my friends had stayed at into a hospital. We'll see if that ever comes to pass, but you think Arcadia is the best choice? It's a rare person who puts others' well-beings above his own. And, in a sense, it was one of my choices, but I think you've convinced me. You know who you remind me of? Henry walked out of the silence bubble for a moment and over to one of the blank walls. He gestured towards it, and a moment later a bookcase appeared on the wall that was empty except for a single book. Henry reached out and grabbed the book, and before walking over to you, handed it to Tarak. What is this? Tarak opened the book, and this is the book Pollyanna by Eleanor Porter. Henry, might I ask why you give this to me? Well, you remind me of it. Consider it a memento. I see. If I can bring it with me, then I shall. Could be a nice read while I'm here as well. Tarak smiled and walked over to his desk, and opening to the page of the plains, he pulled out a quill and marked Arcadia. And the moment his quill made a mark on the paper, he suddenly began to hear a rumble. Looking around, he saw Dina's body slowly turning to golden light and evaporate as it slowly rose higher and higher. At the same time, the light from her body began to glow brighter and brighter, until the entire room was engulfed in golden light. Right before his perception was absolutely overwhelmed by the glowing heavenly vistage before him, he heard Henry speak for a final time. You sure? Well, that's unexpected. Alrighty then. End scene.